Welcome to Perimenopause Weight Loss and Wellness, the podcast for women over 35 who are ready to stop guessing and start understanding what really is happening to their bodies. I'm your host, Anastasia Bennett, registered clinical nutritionist specializing in perimenopause, menopause, weight loss, and gut health, and someone who's been through early perimenopause myself. Whether you're struggling with stubborn weight, fatigue, brain fog, anxiety, poor sleep, or just looking for strategies that work for this stage of life, you are in the right place. Grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive into today's episode. Have you ever found yourself standing in the front of the mirror and thinking, what on earth happening to my body? Because that's exactly where I found myself a few years ago. 1 minute, I felt like everything was under control. I worked the fitness industry for years and I knew exactly what to do. I was coaching people, helping them to lose weight, teaching nutrition, and genuinely believed that if you ate well and exercised, you'll get results. But then my own body completely changed. I started gaining weight, not just 5 kilos over Christmas, not because I stopped exercising either. I mean, weight that seemed to appear no matter what I did. I was eating healthier, I was training, I was doing everything I've always told the other people to do, and nothing was working. Well, actually, it's not true. Something was working. The scales kept going up, so scales were working. And the harder I tried, the worse it got. Does that sound familiar? Because if it does, I want you to keep watching. Not because I'm about to give you another miracle diet or tell you to cut carbs, give up your wine, or start doing boot camp 6 days a week. Quite opposite. I want to explain what's actually happening inside your body, because once you understand that, you will stop blaming yourself. I hope you will. And honestly, that's one of the biggest things I want women to take away from this podcast. Your body has changed. And if you are in your late 30s, your 40s, or early 50s, there's a really good chance those changes are being driven by perimenopause. Frustrating part is hardly anyone talks about it. Think about it. When we were teenagers, we learned about puberty. If you've had children, you probably learn about pregnancy. Most women have heard about menopause, but nobody sits us down and say, by the way, there is this transition before menopause that can last years. Your hormones are going to fluctuate, your body is going to respond differently, and you might suddenly feel like nothing works anymore. Nobody tells us that. Instead, women end up thinking they failed, something is wrong. I hear this every single week. Women come into my appointments to see me, and the first thing they say is, I don't understand. I haven't changed anything. I don't even eat that much. I feel like I eat clean. I look at food, and I gain weight. Or my favorite, I used to lose weight so easily, but now I can starve myself and nothing happens. I actually gain weight. And I completely understand why they feel like that's, because I used to say exactly the same thing. But my perimenopause started early. I was only 37. And at that time, I had absolutely no idea what was happening. It was not only the weight gain for me. I had really bad anxiety that came out of nowhere. I had mood swings, brain fog. I couldn't think straight. I even thought maybe I'm getting early dementia, maybe something wrong with me. I couldn't think straight. My body was sore all the time. The sleep was terrible, tired all the time. I didn't feel like myself anymore at all. And I kept going back to the doctors because I knew something wasn't right. And every time I have had blood tests, and every time everything looked normal. And because I was still having periods, perimenopause barely entered conversation. I was told I was too young. And looking back now, I know I wasn't too young. And I'm so grateful that I went and upskilled myself and learned about perimenopause and women's hormones and all of that. Because I was one of many women who entered perimenopause earlier than expected. The average age is often quoted as being in mid to late 40s, but symptoms can begin much earlier. The average age of menopause is 51. And some women notice changes in their mid to late 30s, some even earlier. The problem is because we are told we are too young, we stop trusting ourselves. We think we're imagining it. We think maybe it's a stress. Maybe we're working too much. Maybe we need another holiday. Maybe we need more motivation. So what do? We do what we've always been told to do. We eat less, we exercise more, we cut calories, go harder at the gym, skip breakfast, download another food tracking app, join another challenge, drink another detox tea, and that's exactly what I did. And I remember thinking, if I work harder, the weight will come off. So I trained harder, I ate less, I did more cardio, I became stricter with my food. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. This is crazy. The crazy thing is I wasn't helping my body. I was putting even more stress on my body that was already trying to cope with massive hormonal changes. And at the time, I didn't know that. I thought discipline was the answer. Now I know understanding the hormones was the answer. And that's why I'm making this podcast, because I want you to know. It's not because I want to convince you that hormones are the excuses for everything. I don't believe that. Calories still matter, movement still matter, protein matter, strength training matter, lifestyle matter. All of those things are important. But here's the part that's missing from most conversations. Hormones influence how your body responds to all those things. Two women can eat exactly the same meals, do exactly the same workouts, sleep the same number of hours. One might lose weight and the other might gain weight. Why? Because hormones matter, stress matter, muscle mass matter, sleep matter. Perimenopause changes all of those things. And that's why you can't keep using the strategy that worked when you were in your 25 and expected it to work at 45. Your body isn't at 25 anymore. And that's not bad news. It's just the information. And once you understand the information, everything starts making more sense. Throughout this video, this podcast, I'm going to explain exactly what's happening inside your body. And we're going to talk a little bit about your metabolism and why it feels slower, why belly fat suddenly appears, why you're craving sugar is more than you used to, why sleep becomes so important, why eating less often backfires. And most importantly, I'm going to show you what I teach my clients every single day that actually works. Because I promise you this, you do not need another crash diet. You do not need to punish yourself in the gym. And you definitely don't need to blame yourself. You need a strategy that matches the stage of your life you're in right now. So let's start with a question that should have been explained to every woman years ago. What is actually perimenopause? So let's start with the basics, because I think this is where the much confusion begins. Most women think perimenopause and menopause are the same thing. They are not. Menopause is actually one day. It's the day you've gone 12 months without period. And everything before that is perimenopause. And that transition can last anywhere from 5 to 15 years for some people. Normally it's like 4 to 10. So for some women, it's shorter, and for others, it's longer. Now, here's the part that really I want you to understand. Perimenopause isn't simple just about your hormones getting lower. That's what most people think. They think estrogen slowly declines, your periods stop, and you are in menopause. And it's only if that was only that simple. What actually happens in your hormones becomes more unpredictable. Think of it like driving behind someone who's learning to drive. 1 minute they're speeding up, another minute they slamming on brakes, and then you are speeding up again, and that's what your hormones are doing. 1 month your estrogen might be really high. The next month it's really low. Some days it's completely normal. The other days it's dramatically different and it drops. And your body is constantly trying to adapt. That's why symptoms can feel so random. You might have an amazing week where you feel like yourself again, you're sleeping well, you got energy, your mood is good, your genes feel better. And the following week, you're bloated, you're anxious, you're exhausted, you can't think straight, you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you crave chocolate, your stomach feels swollen, and you wonder what's going on. Most of the time, nothing. Your hormones changed. one thing I always tell my clients is to stop expecting consistency from your body that's going through one of the biggest hormonal transitions in its life. It's just not realistic. That doesn't mean you can't lose weight. It means your body is not going to behave exactly the same way every single week. So now, there are 3 hormones that really want you to understand today. And I'm not going to turn this into science lecture because nobody wants that. So I just want you to understand enough that you can actually finally make sense for yourself what is happening. The first one is estrogen. So estrogen gets the attention because it affects so many different parts in the body. Most people think of estrogen as a reproductive hormone, and it does help regulate your menstrual cycle. But honestly, that's the only small part of its job. Estrogen has receptors all over the body, the brain, your muscle, your bones, your heart, your skin, your gut, your blood vessels, even your immune system. And that's why when estrogen starts fluctuating, you don't only notice changes with your periods, you notice changes everywhere. That's why you can suddenly experience things like anxiety, brain fog, sore joints, itchy skin, dry eyes, frozen shoulders, headaches, heart palpitations, or fatigue, and not realize they're all connected. I see women all the time who tell me, I thought I had early dementia, like me, because I couldn't remember words. Or I honestly thought I was having a heart attack. Again, it was me. Or I've never had anxiety in my life, and then suddenly I'm panicking over everything. Again, that's me too. And they are relieved when they realize there's actually a reason. And so the second hormone I want to cover is progesterone. Progesterone is often called the calming hormone. And one of its jobs is to help us to feel more relaxed and supporting good sleep. And the tricky thing is that progesterone is usually the first hormone that declines during the perimenopause. And that's why so many women notice sleep problems, increased anxiety, irritability, or feeling more emotionally sensitive to anything long before periods stop. And again, you haven't suddenly become an anxious person. It's due to changes in your progesterone. It's changing. It's dropping, and there's nothing we can do about it. So then we have cortisol. And most people call cortisol your stress hormone. Now, cortisol is not bad. We actually need cortisol. It helps us to wake up in the morning. It helps us to deal with stress. It helps us to regulate blood sugar. The problem is when cortisol stays elevated for a long period of time. And unfortunately, many women arrive in perimenopause already carrying years of stress from work, raising children, looking after aging parents, running businesses, trying to fit exercise in already busy days. They're constantly pulling everyone else first. The bad sleep. Then perimenopause comes along and your body becomes even more sensitive to stress. It's like your stress bucket was already almost full, and now somebody keeps pouring more into it. And that's why women often tell me, I don't feel stressed. And then we start talking and they're getting 5 hours of sleep. They're surviving on coffee. They're skipping lunch or breakfast. They're rushing from work to kids' sports. They're squeezing in an hour of high intensity training at 8 o'clock at night because it's the only time they've got. And they're eating dinner, standing up at the kitchen bench. Well, that's me too. And then they're wondering why their body feels constantly inflamed. And it's not because they're doing something wrong. It's because their body it's getting stress signals from every direction that's possible. And here's something I really want you to think about. Your body does not know the difference between emotional stress and physical stress. That's right. It does not know whether you are worried about money or you've done another boot camp session after eating 1,200 calories. Stress is stress. And during perimenopause, your body becomes much less tolerant of it. That's one of the biggest mindset shifts I want women to make. More is not always better. More cardio is not always better. Less food is not always better. Training harder is not always better. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is to give your body what it's actually asking for instead of trying to force it into losing weight. So now, before you think I'm saying hormones are the only reason women gain weight, I'm not. Weight gain is always influenced by multiple things, such as nutrition, movement, sleep, muscle mass, stress, age, medical conditions. But hormones influence every single one of those things. And that's why understanding perimenopause changes everything. Because once you understand what's happening inside your body, you stop fighting it and you start working with it. So now that you understand what perimenopause is, let's talk a little bit about the hormone that quietly did far more for your metabolism than most women ever realize. Because this next part explains why your stomach suddenly becomes the place of your body wants to store fat. Now, so let's talk about estrogen. Most women think estrogen is about periods and fertility, and it's not. It affects nearly every system in our body. So when the estrogen starting to change, it feels like everything changes in your body. Your mood, your sleep, your joints, your skin, your brain, your muscle, your metabolism, it's all connected. And I think this is one of the biggest reasons women feel so frustrated. They think they suddenly become unhealthy overnight. In reality, their hormones are changing and the way their body works. So let's talk about insulin, for example. Now, don't switch off because we're talking about insulin. I'm going to keep it really simple because understanding this has completely changed how I looked at weight loss. So every time you eat carbohydrates, your body releases insulin. Insulin's job is to move sugar out of your bloodstream into your cells where it can be used for energy. And it's a completely normal process. The problem starts when your body does not respond to insulin so well as it used to. And that's called insulin resistance. One of the things estrogen does is help your body sensitive to insulin. As estrogen starts to fluctuate and decline, many women become more insulin resistant. That means your body has to produce more insulin to do the same job. Higher insulin levels make it much easier to store fat, especially around your middle area. Yep. So have you ever heard women say, I've never had stomach until now? I have, all the time. All the time. They will tell me they've always carried weight in the hips and the thighs, and suddenly it's around the stomach. And very, very common. And something that I see all the time during perimenopause. Years ago, I barely had any weight around my stomach too. And then all of a sudden it started to show up, especially under your bra line, like at the top, like the weirdest place ever. And even if you're doing everything right, and I was doing everything right, but now I understand why. And it was not because I suddenly forgot how to eat. My hormones has changed. And the next thing estrogen does is to help protect your muscle. And this is such an important conversation because most women are focused on losing weight. I'm focused on helping you keep your muscle while you lose fat. That's a huge difference. As we get older, we naturally lose muscle. That process speeds up during perimenopause. Now, why does it matter? Well, because muscle is metabolically active. Think of muscle as engine. The more muscle you have, the more energy your body burns throughout the day, even when you're sitting on the couch. That's right. If you are gradually losing muscle every year, your engine becomes smaller. Your metabolism naturally slows down. And that's one of the reasons women tell me, I ate exactly the same as I did 10 years ago, and now I gain weight. They're probably telling the truth because their body is not burning energy the same way anymore. And this is also why I spend so much time talking about strength training. Not because I want everyone looking like a bodybuilders. I love when women tell me, I don't want to get bulky. Honestly, most women struggle to build muscle, especially during perimenopause. Lifting weights is not about becoming bulky. It's about protecting the muscle you already got and improving your bone density too. Because once you lose it, metabolism becomes slower, everyday task becomes harder, and your risk of osteoporosis and falls later in life also increases. So when I tell women to lift weights, I'm not thinking about summer. I'm thinking about the next 30 years. That's right. Next one, we've got sleep. So who wakes up at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the middle of the night? Well, I used to. Or falls asleep easily and can't stay asleep. I hear this almost every day. Sleep changes during perimenopause and it's very annoying. Yeah. And those changes could be metabolic as well. When you don't sleep well, the body produces more cortisol, your hunger hormone ghrelin goes up, your fullness hormone leptin goes down, you are more likely to crave sugary foods, you are less likely to feel satisfied after dinner, and your blood sugar becomes harder to control as well. And because you're exhausted, you're probably not making the same food choices you would after great night's sleep. So think about the last time you slept really badly. Were you craving broccoli? Probably not. Most people crave quick energy like chocolate, white bread, biscuits, chips, coffee. Your body is looking for the fast source of fuel because it's tired. So poor sleep does not only make you feel awful, it changes your appetite and it changes your hormones and it makes your weight loss harder. And so now let's add another layer to it, stress. And I honestly think stress is one of the most underestimated parts of perimenopause, not because of the weight, but because our bodies become much more sensitive to it. And I often explain this to clients like this. Imagine you got a stress bucket. When you're younger, that bucket is fairly empty most of the time. You can handle poor night's sleep, you can skip meals, you can smash out hard workout, you bounce back pretty quickly. But by the time you reach your 40s, that bucket often looks very different. You got work, you got kids, you got parents to look after, financial pressure, running household, maybe running a business, poor sleep, hormonal changes. Now that bucket almost overflowing before the day even starts. And then you add HIIT class, coffee, 1,200 calories. Your body doesn't see those things as healthy habits. It sees it as more stress. And that's why I always say your body isn't trying to make your life difficult. It's just trying really to protect you. And everything in your body does everything. It's to protect you, to keep you alive. Even storing fat, even slowing metabolism. It's our body's survival mechanisms. And the problem is trying to fight your body instead of trying to understand it. Okay, so I want you to start thinking about what your body needs right now, and it needs nourishment. And so in the next section, I want to cover mistakes I see a lot of women make every single day. Some of them might surprise you because they are often recommended as a healthy weight loss strategies. But for many women in perimenopause, they are doing far more harm than good. And all of those things I cover in my metabolic reset cohort group coaching. And you can have a look on my website, www.perimenopausehealth.co.nz under coaching, and you will find out when is the next intake. We cover all those things in there about the insulin resistance, about the hormones, about blood sugar, exercise, recovery, sleep, everything. Okay. So now, before we get into the next section, I want you to be really clear. I'm not saying the strategies never work. Just remember, context matter, age matters, health matters, hormone matter. What works amazingly for 25-year-old is not always best for 45-year-old going through perimenopause. So that's the conversation we need to have, because so many women tell me, I tried everything. Then we sit down together and I ask them about what's going on in a typical day. And almost every time I see why their bodies are struggling, not because they need to do more. They actually need to do less. And they need to do different things, that they need to nourish their body. They need to understand how their body works. The biggest one I see is eating less and less. I don't know how many women I worked with who are eating 1,200 calories, if that, a day. Some eating less. And they honestly believe that this is the only way to lose weight. And when I tell them they're actually going to, that we're going to increase food, they look at me like I'm completely lost my mind. They say, how can eating more possibly help me to lose weight? Fair question. Here's why. When you consistently undereat, your body does not think, oh, great, she's trying to fit into the jeans. It thinks that, our body is really smart and it wants to keep you alive. So if you, start taking food away, it will do what it needs to do to preserve your energy, your life. It wants to keep you alive. So it starts conserving energy. You move a little less without even noticing. You feel more tired, recovery becomes slower, your workout aren't as effective, you struggle to build muscle, and because you're hungry all the time, cravings become harder to ignore. Then something happens that so many women beat themselves up over. Friday nights arrive, the weekends, you suddenly all want bread, chocolate, chips, and wine, and tell yourself you can't do it. You have no willpower. But think about it. You've been trying to survive on far little food all week. Your body is asking for energy. Now, am I saying calories don't matter? Absolutely not. Calories deficit is still needed for fat loss. But here's a huge difference between sensible calorie deficit and starving yourself. My goal isn't to see how little food you can survive on. My goal is to help you to lose fat while protecting your metabolism, your muscle, and your hormones. And that's a completely different approach. There's so many other things that I could be talking about, and I know I went on and on and on for way too long. And if you are one of those women and struggle with all of this, I highly encourage you to book free consultation with me. Go to my website, perimenopausehealth.co.nz, book free consultation. If you want a proper consultation and a plan to walk away with, then book that. I do 1-hour consults as well. Otherwise, have a look at Metabolic Reset cohort group coaching. Highly encourage you to see when the next intake is, and you're going to learn so much about how to nourish your body. But if you don't like group coaching, that's absolutely fine. Go to my website, book free consultation. I do one-on-one coaching all the time. I have 16 weeks, 6 months, or 12 months. Go check it out. What's included? Book free consultation. We can talk about what's the best fit for you. We can see if the one-on-one coaching or group coaching will be the best. And I can give you the recommendations. No hard feelings, no pressure. Let's catch up, have a chat, and see where it takes us.
If you have any questions about this podcast or about hormones, weight loss, or just healthier lifestyle, please go to our website at lifehackcoaching.co.nz or feel free to email me directly, Anastasia@lifehackcoaching.co.nz.